Club Penguin should really need no introduction, but for those of you who don't know, it was an MMO kids game that ran from 2005 to 2017. It briefly had a successor, Club Penguin Island, which I have already made a video on by the way. Since then there have been several fan projects bringing Club Penguin back, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. Club Penguin at the time was absolutely enormous, it was everywhere, and of course it had the Disney logo on it eventually, so of course it was going to get big. Merchandise, collectible cards, plushies, you know the drill, and of course with that comes spin-off video games. And on the Nintendo DS there are two Club Penguin video games. We have Club Penguin Elite Penguin Force and Elite Penguin Force Herbert's Revenge. Now before we go any further, if you're into licensed tie-in games, Disney, nostalgia, the DS, any of that kind of thing, then subscribe, because this channel will be great for you. If you guys subscribe, I'll actually feed my Puffle. Come on, he's starving. Anyway, without further ado, let's start with Club Penguin Elite Penguin Force. Now, this game released, depending on where you were, between November 2008 and April 2009. It was developed by First Playable Productions, and of course was published by Disney Interactive Studios. Now before I dive properly into what this game actually is, I do just want to applaud it for having the connectivity to the base Club Penguin game. All of the Club Penguin merchandise, the plushies, the cards, everything came with codes for coins or stuff you could unlock in-game. And whilst the game's box itself did have a code or something you could put into Club Penguin, the actual game itself could be linked to your Club Penguin account, so any coins you earn in this game could be sent across to your actual Penguin on the base game. Which I just think is a really cool feature. Like, that's just another way to entice players to come back. Now, on the surface, Club Penguin just seems like a very generic MMO with not much behind it, but if you look deeply into Club Penguin, there is so much lore there that it's actually insane. So Club Penguin Elite Penguin Force has you in this super elite agency, carrying out missions and training and stuff to help protect Club Penguin Island. Eventually, you end up wrapped up in this conspiracy with test robots and kidnapping of Puffles and stuff like that. And to be honest, for a kids game, it's quite an in-depth plot going on here. Anyway, so let's talk gameplay. So do you guys remember in Club Penguin, you'd go to the catalogue to buy yourself some cool clothes or furniture or Puffle furniture, and you could click around on the catalogue and find cool little hidden secrets, and you would just spend ages going around and just clicking different areas to see if anything would happen? That's quite literally like 90% of the gameplay of this game. It's a point-and-click adventure. You just press stuff and hope something happens. That's kind of it, I'm not gonna lie. I am probably a bit biased against this game just because I really don't like point-and-click games. However, it does have the Club Penguin charm, so I did tolerate it for that. Anyway, the puzzles are fairly simple, although to be honest, when I played this I was quite tired, so I did spend ages getting stuck on certain sections that were just really obvious once I figured out how it actually happened. But yeah, for the most part, gameplay boils down to you dragging stuff around, getting help from a couple of Puffles, clicking stuff on the screen, and sometimes you get money for doing so. That's pretty much it. But I suppose as a DS spin-off of Club Penguin, it doesn't spin that far off from the gameplay of the base game anyway, because all you do is click around to move the penguin and occasionally partake in minigames, so it's really not that far from what we already had. But yes, I did say minigames, and this game does also have minigames which allow you to earn money to again send to your main game. Now, to be honest, nearly all the minigames in Elite Penguin Force are just taken straight from the website. You've got stuff like Jetpack Adventure, Kart Surfer, Ice Fishing, and Dance Contest. Elite Penguin Force only actually has two exclusive minigames. One is snowboarding, which is essentially just like the surfing one on the website anyway, you just use the stylus to perform tricks, and the other one has you driving around in a snow trekker collecting coins, and you just turn the snow trekker again with the stylus. Honestly, nothing particularly exciting. Some of the minigames were quite fun. The ones that were more fun were the ones from the website because I felt very nostalgic for them even in a DS format. The other ones were just a bit meh, very standard DS minigame era kind of thing. And to be honest, this game is just kind of okay. Had I not have played Club Penguin when I was a kid, I don't think I would have enjoyed this whatsoever whilst making this video. This game came out at arguably the highest point of Club Penguin's popularity in the very late 2000s going into the early 2010s. So at the time, I can see how this would have been good for kids playing, and had I have played it when I was 9 or 10, I would probably have immense nostalgia for it now. The issue is, if you take the IP of Club Penguin away from this, then it really would just be a nothing game. It would be a very, very boring kids point-and-click adventure with some middling mini-games to go along with it. Anyway, graphically, this game is fine. It looks exactly just like Club Penguin, and that's perfect, really. You can't ask for much more. No one's going into Club Penguin expecting anything more than the Flash game vibe that it is, and that's just beautiful in my opinion. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. The world of Club Penguin, the characters, the music, it's all translated pretty well onto the DS, to be honest with you. So in terms of how the game looks, it gets scores for me on that one. Before I dive into the stats behind the reviews and sales figures, I should probably mention there is multiplayer in this game, but because I don't have a single friend that would sit down and seriously play Club Penguin DS with me, I haven't really tried it. From what I can see, they're just multiplayer minigames, and I think they're the same minigames, you just go up against your friends, so there's not actually that much to it. Now, of course, this game did actually end up selling pretty well. Now, as per VG charts, this game sold over 3 million worldwide. Most of this was in North America, and the rest in Europe. Critically, this game actually didn't do too badly either. It doesn't have enough reviews to have a meta score, but by taking an average of the 3 reviews there are, it gives us about a 71 out of 100, which is pretty good going for a kid's point-and-click game. To sum up my own thoughts on it though, I'm not really a point-and-click adventure kind of guy, so this game really isn't meant for me, but it was a cool little nostalgia trip to hop back into the world of Club Penguin whilst making this video. Okay, so next up we have Club Penguin Elite Penguin Force Herbert's Revenge. And who is Herbert, I hear you ask? A vegetarian polar bear. Apparently. So this game again was a DS exclusive and launched worldwide between May and July 2010, which was barely a year after the first one released in some countries. It was once again developed by First Playable Productions and again of course published by Disney Interactive Studios. Now, there are some blog posts from Club Penguin covering this game, and let me just read you an extract from why this actually exists. We were very pleased with the incredible response to the first DS title, and the kids have given us tremendous feedback, making it clear they want to experience even more Club Penguin adventures on DS. Developing a sequel was a great way to meet that need while exploring more ways for fans to experience the Club Penguin virtual world offline. And that's from Billy Bob. Okay, so this game's plot picks up after the end of the PSA within the Club Penguin main game itself, the Penguin Secret Agency. There were 11 PSA missions on Club Penguin itself, and the final one has you facing the veggie villain, Herbert. And of course, that's where this game comes in. Herbert comes back for revenge. Now, much like its predecessor and the PSA Club Penguin missions, this is yet another point-and-click adventure. Except this time they have had the chance to brush up on all the things that weren't quite as good about the first game, including the pacing, the vagueness of some of the puzzles, and the mini-games as well. Now, once again, the game itself came with a code card which gave you items and money online, and again, the game could be connected to your online Club Penguin account to send the coins you earn in the game to your Club Penguin character, so I'm glad they kept the connectivity between. Now, the original game had 13 missions, and the pacing on some of them was a bit off, and some of them are just so vague that I genuinely did have to find a guide to figure out where to go next. This game has 10 missions, and it's a bit more obvious what you're meant to do this time, so whether or not you like that depends on how clever you are with puzzle games. Whilst in the first game you have to wander about for a while before you come across the Elite Penguin Force, this game throws you straight in at the deep end. And I mean that in the best possible way. You immediately learn how to work with the Elite Puffles, use your gadgets, navigate around, work as a team. It works pretty well as an introduction, to be honest with you. I think the biggest problem I have with these two DS games is that they both assume that you've already played Club Penguin. Now, the chances are, if you're buying this game, you probably have played it before, but there were some kids that wouldn't have been able to play the original Club Penguin because they didn't have a home computer or something like that, and they'd see it and think, oh, it's Club Penguin, but on DS, I have one of those. And then the game just kind of assumes you already know your way around the map and know where everything is, and I don't know, I wasn't the biggest fan of that. I could manage it just fine because obviously I'd played it when I was a kid and I knew where everything was still, but I do think it could have done a little more in the way of guidance. Anyway, let's talk minigames. Herbert's Revenge has 4 exclusive minigames to the DS, and I'm not gonna lie, they're all actually quite good. The one you are currently seeing on screen is called Grapple Gadget, and personally it's by far my favourite one. It's just a simple platformer with swinging mechanics. It basically just makes you feel like a really basic Penguin Spider-Man, and I'm really here for it. It's a good time, and there's quite a few levels to it. You've also got Jackhammer, which has you using a jackhammer, as you probably saw earlier in the video, and there's two others that aren't quite as good. One is just a very simple maze, and the other has you firing rubber rings to keep the island afloat from underneath. Still fun, just not my favourite. However, it's nice to see that they actually bothered to make some fairly interesting minigames rather than just porting the ones that were already on Club Penguin, because if I wanted to play the fishing game on Club Penguin, I'd go on the website. I wouldn't open my DS and play it because it just seems kind of pointless. The story itself, much like in the first one, is still quite interesting. The writing is pretty good and does have some funny moments, as does the main game, as does the original DS game. In terms of graphics, this game looks exactly the same as the last one, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's good because it still looks like Club Penguin. Now, let's talk stats. In terms of critical response, it's fairly similar to the first one, except this time there's actually only one critic review on Metacritic, and that's at 73 out of 100, so we shall just give it that review. For reference, the user score is a 7.1 out of 10, which is again similar to the previous game. Now, in terms of sales, there were several different figures floating about around the first Elite Penguin Force, but the only figure I could find for Herbert's Revenge was on VG charts, and that was saying 0.6 million total, so about 660,000 copies. Which I suppose isn't that bad, but when you consider how big Club Penguin was, I think 600,000 copies isn't really that much. I mean, I'd imagine they still made their money back because I can't see how this would have cost loads to make. They already had all the assets and the engine from the first game, so realistically all they needed to do was make a few new models and a couple of minigames. Having read opinion on both of these games, it seems to be people tend to prefer the original Elite Penguin Force. I appear to be in the minority who prefers Herbert's Revenge, but I'd be very interested to hear what you guys think of these two games. Now, I know there is also a Club Penguin game for Nintendo Wii, so if you'd like to see that covered, let me know in the comments as well. Now, if you want my opinion on these two games, they're pretty good. I'm not really a point-and-click adventure kind of guy, as I've already said, but if you want to go and experience Club Penguin again, just go and play one of the rewritten servers online. Don't bother picking up either of these DS games. If you're a super big fan of point-and-click adventures and Club Penguin, I can see why these games would be for you, but otherwise, just don't waste your time. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe and tap the bell for notifications if you have not done so already. And as always, I will see you in the next video.